I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, degenerate sleuths of the night. We gather to boldly go where others have refused. Welcome to the DT show, you salty mofos.
A man accused of killing 4 college students is behind bars, and he has ties to northeastern and central Pennsylvania. State police say 28-year-old Brian Koberger was arrested this morning at a home in Chestnut Hill Township.
I can't find any case law that would support that idea. That somehow a warrant would be needed for DNA left at a crime scene.
We are expecting to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
So, the Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel.
So, get your popcorn ready and your choice of drink. Get your butt on your seat. Like, comment, and subscribe for a treat. Here we go. It's time for the show. The Drunk Turkey Show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT show. I'm Daniel, and today we're going to be covering a new case, a pretty serious case where a young lady who went missing, young teen actually, underage, went missing a few times since 2024. I'm sorry, April 2024. She was found, decomposed. It seems like maybe perhaps dismembered in the front trunk of a Tesla that belonged to a rapper known as David, spelled D4VD, real name David Anthony Burke. And we're going to talk about some new developments in that case, and some of the old developments kind of, break the water here, so to speak, when it comes to jumping into this case head first. And, for those that are going to be tuning in who haven't caught this program before, my name's Daniel. This is the DT show. I have been covering law enforcement cases starting since Richard Allen was arrested back in 2022. He was the person who was convicted and tried and convicted for the murders of Libby and Abby in Delphi, Indiana. And then the channel grew when we started talking about the Brian Koberger case. I have had many interviews with many people that were involved in the Brian Koberger case, including to family members of some of the victims, and other persons who are close to the case, including some best-selling authors like Howard Bloom, Dr. Carol Lieberman, who we had on last night about about Brian Koberger, and etc. And so I'm former law enforcement, and so I kind of give my point of view through that avenue. And so that's a little bit to expect when we're covering this case for those that are new. And for those that are new also, I have a wonderful guest, Dr. Jamie Vona. And for those that don't know Dr. Vona, well, welcome, doctor, and kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Vona. I have a channel, The Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona. I've been a professor now for 22 years. I teach all kinds of classes in psychology. I'm also a research psychologist and a content creator.
There you go. And we have been covering the mind of Brian Koberger since apparently what was before his sentencing, but since his arrest, and a lot of great content. If you guys are interested in that, go check it out, both on my channel and on Dr. Vona's, The Minds Behind True Crime. It's a great channel. So Dr. Vona, as you said, your profession is in the university, so you hang around some younger folks. I was not familiar with who David was, but you being around so many young folks, how has this situation impacted those around you that are of a younger age and generation?
So my daughter, my 17-year-old, asked me if I saw this, and I was like, no, I didn't. So I went to go look into it. And then when I went to school, all of my students were talking about it. And here, a lot of them were disappointed because like they were teasing some of them like, oh, that was like your favorite, because a lot of people liked him. They identified with him. So now to find out that he might not be who they signed up for or who they thought that they were into in itself is, confusing for them. But then to add on top of it that there's a young girl that's dismembered in his front trunk just makes it. So all of my students are asking me too, like, are you covering this? So I started covering it. So they'll send me stuff on it and stuff. So I know that the younger generation is really into this. And I think a big part of it is because he's 20 years old. So he's their age.
That's true. And a little bit about him. I mean, he comes from a household with both parents. His mother and father are in the picture. So he's not a guy that comes from like a broken home. He was homeschooled from what I understand. And I think he made his stardom through TikTok and Fortnite, playing video games. Is that correct?
That is. So he started with Fortnite, and what happened was he's very entertaining. Like, as I've been researching him, I could see what the allure is. I memean, I wish that I'm hoping that at the end of this, we all have it wrong and he has nothing to do with it, because I would follow him if he didn't. But again, I think this goes back to personality disorder and how he can reel us in. And now that I go back looking at it with a different eye, there's a lot of red flags that we're going to see. But he started with Fortnite, and what he was doing was he started making money because people were tuning into his Fortnite channel. And then what he was doing was he was putting like compilations together with music in the background. But then they started with all of the copyright strikes. So he was like, he wasn't making as much money. So his mom's like, just make your own. So he went in his sister's closet. He downloaded an app on his iPhone, and that's how he started making music.
I will say this. Even if he didn't commit the crime of murder, he still was harboring a runaway. He was still involved with a child Daniel. Who was
you are right.
Very young child. I believe she was 13 the first time that they got involved. Does that sound about accurate?
I think she was 11 on Fortnite. So from what we heard, he had a Fortnite, and then he started a Discord for his fans in Fortnite. And I believe she's one of like his oldest fans that, continue on with him. But you are 1,000% correct. And even if they do somewhat say that they were in a relationship, you can't be in a relationship at 11, 12, 13, 14, as far as consenting. So either way, 1,000%, he's guilty of something here. I agree with that.
Now, there's been some folks who've come forward. I think there was a TikToker or somebody, I think on Twitch, who tried to expose him back in 2023 with him having some inappropriate conversations or trying to manifest some relationships with underage girls, even then, other girls that weren't Celeste. So it kind of seems like a little bit of a pattern here with younger ladies. What do you think?
As far as them following him?
As far as him, trying
I have just as many guy students and stuff that were following him. Like, I think that
there was a guy that came forward that he was apparently messaging.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Other girls who were underage, yes.
Yeah, and he says something like about the I can't wait until they come after you for dating a 13-year-old or something. Did you see that text message? Is that what you're referring to?
I believe so. I know that there was a guy that came forward, and he was talking about how he was trying to explain, that he was coming after him because he was being messaged by other young ladies that apparently this guy was targeting them through Fortnite and Discord and stuff.
So that would make total sense. This is the thing that people have to remember. When somebody is praying, like, you'll see that he winds up being into a lot of different things that you'll see that some of the kids that were following him were into. So for example, Celeste, she was found with her Hello Kitty shoes on. And if you look, there's an entire portion of his content that he like ups his game on the Hello Kitty stuff. Like he's wearing the shirts, he has a Hello Kitty in his hand, all different types of things. And I think people need to look at this as like grooming. So he was grooming. Like, I don't know that he was really into Hello Kitty like that. I think he was into Hello Kitty because she was into Hello Kitty. So I think these are all things that kids need to understand are dangerous about the internet. And I think a big part of this is for parents to understand that we're not going to be able to find everything our kids are doing on the internet, but we do have to warn them about these things so that when these things do come up and somebody is interested in Barbie, you're like, okay, maybe they're really not. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And here we go. You got the lyrics.
Yeah, this is the lyrics to a song that he wrote named Celeste. This was a unreleased track. I believe it was recorded in late December of 2023.
And so it's never been released.
Never been released. Now, there is an image that one of the things that, and I want to get your opinion on this, if they did have a relationship with each other, which it appears that they did. The mother even indicated that at the time of the disappearance that her daughter had a boyfriend named David. And so there was matching tattoos of the on the finger, kind of like when somebody's putting their finger over their lips. Now, some would say that there are other artists that have that tattoo and that fans of music artists would get matching, well, not necessarily matching tattoos, but they would get tattoos that are similar to their icons. It's not necessarily a matching tattoo as much as somebody mimicking somebody else's. I don't necessarily believe that to be the case here. I think it's a matching tattoo, but that's probably going to be the argument made by his defense attorney that, hey, if Stan goes and gets a tattoo that matches what Eminem has on his arm, is that matching tattoos that they get them together? No, it's him, mimicking Eminem. And so I think that's probably going to be the defense's argument in that situation if it ever gets there. But
I would say hopefully the prosecution would be able to find the tattoo shop and see if he went with her to get it.
That would be interesting. And I'd hope they would be able to do that. But let's just say that they are able to confirm that they are matching. And this is completely speculation and opinion on our part. What do you think it means? I mean, to me, it obviously is like a quiet relationship, mainly because of the age difference. But what do you think it means?
I think, again, we have to remember this isn't really a relationship because she was 12 years old, you know what I mean, when this started. So I know that a 12-year-old might think that they're in a relationship, but this is a predatory type thing where, he might make her think they're in a relationship, but she can't consent to any of this. I think this is a great example of another way that a predator will groom his victim. So by doing this, number one, it's something that just you and I have that we share that nobody else has. So it's special. And he's, pretty famous. So that had to have made her feel special. In the beginning, she was still in middle school. So she was going back to middle school and like telling her friends about her famous boyfriend, and these kids were listening to him. Apparently some of them, he was, and again, allegedly paying some of the kids off. They had pictures of him giving something to some of the kids in the parking lot. And I feel like they knew that it was wrong, but that was kind of like, we're special. Like we have a bond. And this is like our secret message that only you and I share. So again, I think it was a very predator type behavior.
It seems very predator. I'll be honest with you. And so this is we'll read some of the lyrics and we'll break them down, verse by verse. The intro is "Baby, baby, I love you." This is 2023. So she would have been 13 at the time, December of 2023. She
would have been 12 because she never made it to 15. So we have to make sure that we call her 14 because she was found the day after what would have been her 15th birthday, but she had already been dead in the car for days. So she never makes it to 15. So she was 13 when this came out, which just to me makes it even more gross. Like I just feel like he should have known better. He did know better. He had to have.
Well, I mean, if her body was found September, right? 2025.
It was September 9th, I think, and her birthday was like the 8th.
Okay, so September 8th, 2025, she would have been 15. 2024 in September would have been 14. September 2023 would have been 13.
Yes, that's why I said 13.
Okay. Did I say 14?
Yeah.
I thought I said 13. Okay. My mistake. So she would have been 13 years old at this time. And, fairly young, saying some pretty, high emotion word like I love you and creating a song. I mean, some people do move fast. But do you think something like this, given the age situation and the severity of understanding that making a risk like this to record a record about a girl who's underage, what does that tell you about his mindset?
So to want to step this up even more with being a predator. So at the same time, he also makes friends with another Celeste who looks just like this girl, but is like 20 at the time, right? So he can technically say that he has more than one Celeste in his life. So how do we know that this is about the one that's underage? So I feel like this is how predatory this behavior was, that he then makes friends with. And there's a picture, and on one of my short I did, there's a picture where the one girl Celeste is sitting on the couch and the other girl Celeste is in the background. You see her. So they knew each other. So my thing is, like you were saying about the defense, I hope the defense doesn't try to say, how do we know it was for this Celeste? And that to me is just so much more predatory, because it was almost as if we would forget about the young Celeste, and then people would be like, no, there's still a Celeste in his life. Like, what do you mean? And people would just forget about it. And I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, me too. But there's and we got an article that I'm going to read that people knew which Celeste he was talking about, and they thought that she was a little bit older. And we'll go through that article here in a second. So it goes on. The first verse is, so this is what it's like to not need weed to get me high. I love it when you hold me, when you cry, just because, be my Valentine. I want to make Cupid suicidal. And that's the way he pronounces it so that it rhymes. So do not need weed to get me high. Do you think that he was providing, marijuana at the very least to Celeste, in your opinion?
That I'm not sure. What catches me more in this as a therapist is that he says, I love when you hold me when you cry. Don't you usually hold the person that's crying? Like, how narcissistic is that? Think about that. I love when you hold me when you cry. Aren't I supposed to hold you type thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Like, that is so narcissistic to even say that. I was like, so that number one, and then I want to make Cupid, you know what I mean? Like, that is, I don't know. I think it's very charging. And I think to a young kid who's going through puberty and their hormones, like, I think this is something that a little kid would be like, oh my gosh, like, look, like he's talking about me, like, this is so cute. You have to see the kids all crying at his concert, even young adults, not just kids. To me, young adults are kids, but people are crying and like singing these songs, and some of them are even, you could even argue, are just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, it's a good point about the hold me when you cry. That's an interesting point. You're spot on there. Moving on to the second part, says, be my Valentine. So that tells me, recorded in December, this was I guess a plan for a Valentine's Day gift to somebody that he, was interested in. I want to make Cupid suicidal. What do you think how do you interpret that? Valentine and Cupid suicidal.
That's a good question. Well, what's Cupid do, right? So Cupid hits people with an arrow to find love. So if he's not around anymore, then he can't provide love to other people. So this could, and again, this is speculation, mean that by offing Cupid, like, that is her last love, is him. It's like there is no more loves that could possibly get you. He's a very jealous person. When you look at his TikToks and stuff, like, he's he says it, like, you could say it. So I think this could mean, like, by taking out Cupid, that there's nobody else. There's no other things that you could hit me like a heart, because it's the last one, me and you. Like, there's no more people after that on either side.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Cupid also has arrows, so you would assume that that's himself, and so he's wanting to make somebody else jealous. I don't know.
Or stopping people from, if Cupid's no longer there, then Cupid can't shoot his arrows at people to get their heart. So by taking out Cupid, there's not other people that could come and take Celeste's heart.
Yeah. These are the kind of thoughts that cross my mind. Just because. And then it goes, verse 2, darling, I would love to erase or eat. Oh, let me do this again. Darling, I would love to ease your mind, but you only open up when you get high. If I had the money, I would buy us time just to get us by, just to stay high. So kind of back to what I was thinking earlier, open up when you get high. So I think this kind of talk about some sort of drug use between him and her during these times. And ease your mind, her crying, Cupid. Do you think he's calling her the jealous one?
I mean, he could be, but I think if you look at his content, he clearly he has content that'll be this is what it's going to happen to her if she ever looks at someone else again, and it's like somebody chopping up meat, so. And she doesn't really post a whole lot, so if that is the case, we don't really have a whole lot of evidence of it, because she does not post like a 13-year-old girl usually does. He's the one that posts everything.
So
what
do you think it's like projection? Like he's projecting himself onto her, like this is him, but he's projecting it as her?
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000. We always talk about projection, right? Yeah. I was actually surprised to see this. So of all the things that we heard, I hadn't heard anything about getting high or anything. So this was actually the first of all the things. So if anybody knows anything in the chat that we could look up for another live, I would love to look into that, because this was really the first time I had heard of that in all of the content he does.
I mean, if you think about it, she's very young. If she is smoking marijuana, at that age, her mind is still in development. This could aid in his grooming of her, so 100% there. The bridge goes, oh, Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. Now, I don't know if she had a name tattoo, but that could just be him just saying that.
So I don't know if she did, but there's pictures of her. She eventually allegedly gets another tattoo with his name on her finger. So she has Sh on one and David on another.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. It goes, smell her on my clothes like cigarettes. I hear her voice each time I take a breath. I'm obsessed. Oh, Celeste. So right here, talking about obsession, we know what the end result was. She's obviously it's been ruled a homicide, so she's been murdered. Obsession is probably one of the leading motivations to murder, wouldn't you think?
Yes. And the fact that he's telling us here that he's obsessed, I think that we need to take that serious. And I think if you say smell her smell her on my clothes like cigarettes, if you think about it, cigarettes, it stays on your clothing. So I think, again, this part to me is a lot of this is projection. Right here. And then so Close says, Vona, he had a music video where his alter ego murders someone and puts the body, which is himself, in the trunk of the car. Tell us what that means. So Chloe, I'm glad that you asked that. So not only does he put the body in the trunk, which is himself, in a lot of his videos, I noticed he plays both parts. So he'll play the victim in the video and he'll play the hero and the perpetrator. So he does it all. It often seems to me like he's the guy that wants to start a fire so he could be the one that puts it out and saves you. So with the video, I think that's projection. I think when we and think about it, right? He put a dead person into the trunk of the car. That is so projection.
What about multiple personalities? Do you think he might be struggling with that? Is that maybe him seeing? I don't know.
No, and let me tell you why. So dissociative identity disorder, which people often know of as multiple personality disorder, that starts in childhood, and a split occurs usually before the age of 5. And it's usually due to something extremely traumatic in childhood, often SA. And in that case, your host personality gets split by alter personalities. I don't see that here. If anything, I see personality disorder like we see in a lot of killers. I'm not sure exactly, because I just started looking into this, which one exactly, but I'm not going to be surprised. And again, you guys, I'm just speculating here and I like with Koberger, I felt very, very confident. This one I'm still researching. But if he does this, we're probably looking at somebody with antisocial personality. I see narcissism big time, but I'm also thinking he's got like a borderline trait to me. And I think, which is different than like Koberger and other things. So I'm looking out for that.
Interesting. Barbara asks, what made them look in his car for her? So the vehicle was parked outside, just really close to the apartment that he was living in at the time, who was rented out by I believe his manager, who, by the way, they have broke the lease and no longer living there. Go figure. But and we'll talk more about that here in a second. But the vehicle ended up being parked out there for a significant amount of time. It began to develop a foul odor. People from the area decided to call in, to report about this. It was towed. When it gets to the tow record place, the odor becomes even more stronger. And then they end up doing a search and finding a body decomposed, possibly dismembered in the trunk inside what it sounds like it was like inside of a plastic bag. So pretty suspicious circumstances, if you ask me.
I have a question for you about this. So from what we've heard now, apparently people thought that the neighbors smelled something bad, but now they're saying that's not true, that the neighbors were just calling because it had been there for several days. And, they eventually tow it. They said like some people might rob a car and put it up there, so it looks suspicious. So they call the police. The police wait 72 hours before they could tow it. I think it wasn't until they get to the tow. So my question for you is, do you think that that's going to help with determining when she died?
It could. The Teslas, they should have like a lot of technology on them, including like cameras and motion detecting, and I think they document a lot of information, like when the vehicle was last moved, when the front trunk would have been open, and those type of things. I think that the vehicle itself is going to determine a lot of that. As far as it being the last time it was parked there, that doesn't necessarily mean that she passed relatively soon to that. She may have passed a day or 2 days earlier, and it just so happened that was the time that they moved the vehicle. As far as the level of decomposition, the only thing that kind of like worries me about it is the fact that it was in inside of a vehicle, and I believe this was like in Los Angeles in September. It's probably warm out there, and so I don't know how if it was also inside of a plastic bag. I'm sure that would have probably expedited it as well. The decomp, so it might be a little bit difficult to determine the exact time frame, but I hope forensics can figure something out.
Yeah, I do too. Somebody asked in the chat, how much does he have over his creative content? And just so people know, he like writes all of the songs.
Yeah, he does everything himself.
He does it all, like down to the music.
So, here's another thing that he says. He goes, afraid you'll only love me when undressed, but you look so damn gorgeous in that dress. Missing you so much makes me depressed, but I digress because I love you so much. Now, afraid you'll only love me when undressed, and then I love it when you hold me when you cry. Do you think that those type of words are maybe perhaps things that he is saying, but those are things that she has said to him?
No, I think these are his real fears and wants and desires. Like, again, that was very narcissistic to say, I love how you hold me when you cry. Like when you're supposed to be the one that holds the person crying, either way, whether it's the, whatever partner. So you should be holding them when they're crying, not the opposite way around. So to me, that's very self-centered. And then over here, about only loving them when undressed, to me, that's an insecurity.
Right. But I mean, it's an insecurity that like
it's not why would a 13-year-old though say something like, I think that's another thing.
Because what it is saying that you only want me for one thing. You don't love me. You just want me for sex is what he's saying.
Do you really think a 13-year-old really wants him for sex? Do you know what I mean? I think that's
exactly. But do you think a 13-year-old, do you think she would have told him that?
Oh, like you only want, I see. I thought you meant like that she was. that she wanted him for just sex. I was going to say that's probably unlikely. I see what
Right.
you're saying, that he would want her for sex.
Right. Is he implementing some of the things that she has said to him, such as,
I
you
see.
only love me when we're undressed, and I love it when you hold me when you cry. You know, those are things that I would, you know, they sound like they would come from a young lady more than a man.
No, I could totally see that, but that would, if she did say these things to him, then that would just show again, I don't know, the amount of power and control he has over her, even that he's like, it's almost like, look, I'm proclaiming my love. I'm putting it in a song. Like, of course, that's not why I only want you. I love you. I love you so much, so much. Like missing you makes me so depressed. I don't know. You look gorgeous in that dress. So like, I feel like by sliding that in, it's like, okay, there goes the bad thing, but here goes the good things to X that out.
But it's almost like a conversation. Like she's saying, you know,
I
you
see what
only
you're
love
saying.
me
I
when
never
you're
read it like that
undressed,
first.
and then he's like, but you look so damn gorgeous in that dress. It's almost like a back and forth.
You're 1,000% right. And I wasn't reading it that way. And that's the thing, you guys. I think one of the things we have to get from this is this guy was so creative. It is such a shame that he went down this horrible road. But now that you say that, that makes sense. I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it
That
seems
could be.
like he's going back and forth with, like you mentioned before, and where he plays all the roles. You know, it sounds like he's doing that here.
I wonder if he has a music video to this. I guess not, because it wasn't released.
Right. Right.
A lot of people think that same thing that you're saying. So that could absolutely be the case. That's interesting.
And I wonder if he's doing it here when it says, I love it when you hold me when you cry.
But think about that either way, though. Even if she said, I love when you hold me when you cry, that still just sounds like it would go the opposite way. Like,
Right, but when would that happen, though? I mean, like, that would be happening when if there's like a breakup and he grabs her and don't leave me and he starts crying.
or if they're sharing like trauma bonding and they're sharing stories that make them upset. And again, that could also be a way to play on someone's vulnerabilities. I do want to mention something now that we're saying this, so I don't forget. There's a video where I don't know if it's his exact 18th birthday or he just turns 18, and he's somewhere, and one of the somebody says to him on camera, like, what does it feel like to be 18? And he says, it feels like the past 5 years, like nothing's changed. So that says to me is, I feel like he is very immature in his emotional development. I want to see this and say, I said it here first, you guys. We have no idea yet. I'm not going to be surprised if something happened to him when he was, what would 5 years before that be, 13? So
Yeah.
let's see what happens to him. And if so, his emotional maturity could have been stunted at 13. None of this makes this okay. But you could then see, because then other girls his age, so let's say you're 17, a 17-year-old might not put up with something that a 12-year-old would. So I feel like something may have happened that stunted his growth in that way, more so than him being into pedophilia, if that makes sense, because there are different, either way it's wrong, and shame on him for doing any of this.
Right. And it would make sense because that was about the same age that he may have gotten in contact, maybe a little bit earlier with Celeste. But going back to this song with the back and forth playing both roles, if he's doing that with this line, be my Valentine, and then I want to make Cupid suicidal. If she's saying be my Valentine and he's saying I want to make Cupid suicide, or vice versa, what does that say? If we're looking at it from that perspective of this being a conversation between two people.
Okay, if it's a back and forth, now we're saying that because if you make Cupid that, then he's going to be out before he could even become your Valentine. So that does take on a whole new meaning. I don't know exactly what that meaning is at this point. I think I need to know more about the case, but either way you look at it, it's still manipulative and it's still grooming.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. Let's see. And I don't know if I read this part. The girl with the name tattooed, smell like, oh yeah, I hear her voice each time I take a breath. I'm obsessed. We talked about that. So then he goes into the outro after that. Real quick. Missing you makes me makes me depressed, but I digress. So feelings all over the place, it sounds like.
Which is where I think that borderline thing might be coming in. I don't think he knows how to oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? With your emotions. Oh my God, you guys, I just had
Express them?
Yeah, he doesn't understand, yes, how to express his emotions. He has an inability to regulate. That's the word I'm looking for, regulate emotion. I'm like, I teach this every day. He has an inability to regulate emotion. And I think that you see that a lot in his creative and in his art and stuff. But I think that's also why people didn't look into it as much as maybe they could have or should have, because I think a lot of people chalked it off to like, this is art. Like, what are you talking about? Look at all these people that love this. And I think it's hard even for young people to wrap around their heads that he could be responsible for such a horrific thing.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off first and foremost with the grooming. You know, it's a slippery slope. And from all accounts, and this is coming from Fox 11, says it talks about David's friends telling the publication that they frequently saw the couple together and believed they were romantically involved. These are from friends close to David, that they believe that they were romantically involved and close together. They described David as very shy, quiet person, and that Rivas Hernandez, which is her full name, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, seemed to mirror that as well. Goes on to say they were shocked that she was underage because she was present at multi-age restricted events. I mean, to me, she looks like a little kid, but obviously I'm significantly older than both of these guys. Are you surprised that somebody at the age of like 13, 14, 15 can get into some of these, age restricted events in today's age?
I think it would have been harder if they were trying to get an ID that said she was 21, but I think because it was an ID that said she was 18, I don't think it was taken as seriously, because it wasn't like she was trying to drink. So I could see them not looking into it as much as they might have if it was like 21. However, with that being said, she's 13. So if she has an ID that says she's 18 or 19 and they all thought she was going to college, this is the thing. Even if they second guessed it, I have plenty of students that look younger than their age, and I have students that look way older than their age. You know what I mean? So my thing is, it was more about the fact that she had an entire story about college, what college she went to. Like, she had all of those things. So my thing is, think again how manipulative that is. Even if I am questioning it, you have an answer for everything, which means that he probably had to go through that with her, right? Like, this is what you're going to say. Maybe they came up with it together, but he's the older one. He knew that it wasn't going to look good if she says I'm 13, especially if she's a missing 13-year-old.
Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't. Now, it does go on to say that she had multiple fake IDs. Now, she's not doing that on her own. She's not making
No, that's what I'm saying, right?
Like, do you think that, obviously somebody had to be aware of the fact that if she was making underage fake IDs, 19, 20, just so that she can get into some of these places, isn't somebody going to kind of question that?
Well, again, I don't know that they would question it as much as if she was trying to say she was 21. Like, 18 isn't, you know what I mean? Like, especially because you really think that a 13-year-old was coming. So I think that this is even something that we don't really think about, because people are thinking, where's the mother? Like, where would the mother be? Do you think he was bribing the mom? Like, where was the mom? Apparently she knew.
I don't think so. But what I do think is, what I'm trying to say is like he would have had to have gone and got this fake ID from somebody. Now, obviously, this isn't the most law-abiding citizen if they're making fake IDs. So they may not care. But, if you're making fake IDs and somebody's coming up to you.
Oh, you meant the person that actually makes it? No, that's a business. No, I don't think they care. They probably don't even know how old she really is. They just need an ID.
Obviously she's not 18 because who comes in making
but couldn't they say like she's 16 and I want her to go to my concerts with me? So who knows what they told the other person?
That's true.
And even if you think someone's younger, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are. So they might, and not a lot of people have an ID. to even show that they're like 16 or 17. So it wouldn't have been abnormal. And then think about it, Daniel, if she has tattoos, in my mind, you probably already are of age because you have tattoos. Like, so I'm like, that must have also thrown people off as well, that she had tattoos, and you have to be 18 to get a tattoo or 16 with a parent signature. So she had to use a fake ID for that too, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but you know what they should do? They should make an example of this guy. Be like, hey, you clearly were aware of the fact that you're making an ID for somebody that's under the age of, if the ID that she made was for 18, 19, just to get in, you know, I'll make an example, because you created a fake ID for somebody who ended up being involved in some sort of, I mean, I would consider it almost child trafficking to a certain extent. And, you know, that resulted in her losing her life. And so, you know, I would find who made the fake IDs and come after them just as hard. And if only that was to pressure that person into giving up information about David and more information about the potential underage activity and those type of things. I mean, even if that's the deal, you're going in there from that perspective to pressure the guy or the gal into giving up some information. By all means, I mean, you know, figure out as much information as you possibly can. So I'm hoping they're going down that road. You know what I mean?
I don't even know if they're going to find the guy, though, if you think about it. How many people get fake IDs all the time that they recover and they never find the person that makes it? So,
No,
I mean, that sounds good. I would hope so. And I would hope that they have a way to figure it out. But I wouldn't be surprised if that never happens.
It would be difficult, you know, and if it was a normal situation with like a normal person, you probably could get a subpoena for their phones and, you know, go back in time and find the messages that they would have had to have contacted somebody to work up the fake ID, get some IP addresses. I mean, there's a way to do it, but this guy with the amount of money that he has, you know, the time that he's had, I wouldn't be surprised if he paid somebody to clear all that crap off his phone.
Yeah, and who knows what state he did it in, because he's from Texas. Like, his Tesla is registered in Texas, but he lives in California. So who knows if he got the fake ID in Texas, California? I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It says here the cause of her death has not yet been determined. The medical examiners only stated that the place of the death is at the vehicle, and that the date of the death was September 8th, when her body was found. The manner of the death is ruled a homicide. Let's see. Most reportedly, her body was found over a year later. Oh, she was reported missing most recently in April 2024. So she'd been missing for over a year. Oh, man, that's wild. Her mom.
And the fact that she went missing, though, in January, February, March, and then April. So she went missing every month for the 4 months in 2024 before they don't see her again. So I feel like, don't you feel like they had to know that, like, where she was coming back from? It's just a question. I'm just asking, like, what you would think. Like, if we were in this situation, hopefully never, God forbid, but like, like she's coming back from the same place.
Well, what's the family dynamics? Is there a father?
That's what I'm asking. So that's what I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I feel like we're going to see, like, I feel like, you know, the parents are, the mom rather is, you know, heartbroken and stuff. However, I want to know more about the family dynamics. Like, what made her feel like she had to keep running?
You know, there are some kids, though, you know, because I've dealt with some runaways in my time that just want to have the freedom.
Even in middle school?
Even in middle school.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have had to deal with some runaways who came from situations like, especially like I had a few of them where parents were like older, like older, like elderly almost, while they were like in high school, like 65, 70 or sometimes. Like, there's one guy that I have in mind that was always constantly a problem. His parents were up there in age. Another guy, we always had problems with him. His father was up there in age. In fact, this guy ended up passing away. He died a little bit older in life. He was like, well, not older in life. He was like 24, 25, but he was a problem when he was younger. And his dad, when he died, his dad was, you know, so old, he didn't even realize his son was dead or had been dead for a minute. But he had drowned on his own vomit after drinking too much. But there was another guy that we had a lot of problems. He ended up, we used to call him an all-star. So when we would have problems, like significant problems with somebody, and we began to know who they were on a first name basis, almost, we call them all-stars or rock stars. And, there's this one guy that we were dealing with, at a very young age, probably about 12, 13 years old. And his father was in and out of prison. And, all of his kids ended up being a problem. In fact, one day I arrested his father, and he got in a fight with another guy, and they ended up stabbing each other. And so when I got in there, I handcuffed the other guy that he had stabbed. And that guy looked at me when I cuffed him. He's like, "What's up, bro?" And all his blood just started coming out of his mouth. He was so high on things. Yeah, he didn't even feel that he was stabbed.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. And then we're taking out both this one guy, and then the father. And then this guy had another son who at the time was probably about 7 years old, 6 years old. And he runs out and he's like, "F you, police." Like, "Oh, my dad, all y'all do is harass." Like all this crap, like, and cursing us out at a young age, very young age. And so, the family dynamics make a big difference. You know what I mean?
Which I think we're going to find something here. And this is the thing, like when we read this next part about this, the mom says that she's dating someone named David, although she never met him, and that the two shared matching tattoos on their fingers. This was a baby. Like, my daughter would not be dating. Like, I would not let her go to the movies. Apparently the brother said she went to the movies with her boyfriend and then never came back. And my thing is, like, you're a baby. Like, you're a baby. Like, why do you have a tattoo? I would freak out if my baby came home with a tattoo. Like, I would be like, I don't know. I feel like the ball was dropped many times here, unfortunately.
There was another situation that I had, and who you hang around with also makes a big difference. There was a situation where I knew this guy. He had, it was a weird situation. So his sister went missing, and he lived in the county, but she went missing in the city. And so he had contacted the city and prior to this, and the city told him, "Well, because you guys live in the county and she disappeared, report it to the county." And so he called the county, and the county told him, "Well, since the last time she was seen was in the city, report it in the city." And that's how it ended up getting to me. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to take care of it, and I'm going to go into it. She had an amazing family. And this little girl would just run away constantly run away. And what ended up happening was she ended up getting involved with her friends, and her friends introduced her to these other people who were pimping her out for drugs. And so we ended up finding, I was a couple of steps behind her. I found her after it took me a couple of nights, but we ended up finding and locating her, arresting these two guys, finding 2-3 other victims that they had done the same thing to. These girls were like 15 and 14 years old. And, in this situation, because I knew who the brother was and I knew who his parents were, just no explanation as to why she was constantly just running away. I mean, the brother, he was not like that at all. Like, I mean, they grew up in the same household. And so it's,
did they run away more than once, this person?
She did. She ran away multiple times.
That's not normal though to me. So to me, that like there's something I feel like that had to be going on that like maybe you or the dad or whoever didn't know about. That like something like that's just not common. I know like some people try to run away, but they'll like run away to like their friend's house, and like the friend's parents will call and be like, "Your kid's here," type. But they don't usually run away multiple times unless there's some sort of trauma or something going on. So I'm interested to see where was the dad? Does she not have one? Like, I don't know what's going on there.
I believe she did. But I think it started off like her going with her friends having parties, and her wanting to do the things that her friends did. And then she just kind of.
So she was hanging out with people older than she was.
Not necessarily, because some of these friends were also the 14 and 15 year olds that were all kind of tied up in this.
Where's the parents and all this? I don't know.
I will say that one of them, the friends' parents were not like there. I think it was just a single mom who was known herself for being a party animal.
There you go.
So mom go out and daughter would have parties, and then, you know, these girls would go over. From what I understand is like, you know, these girls like envied the one friend who didn't have very, you know, many responsibilities. And so, you know, they all ran away.
Now that makes a lot more sense, right? So now we do have the parent, the neglectful, permissive parent who's allowing this, right? So now that they're allowing this, of course the kids are going to want to come over. If you're allowed to party somewhere and this mom's going to, you know, let you guys party there, and then I'm assuming cover up, like if you're sick or something, that mom's now cool to the other kids, even though it's completely neglectful and abusive.
No, it definitely is. It definitely
So it
is.
seems like that one parent made it okay now for these other kids to also do that, which these kids are probably going to look back on later and regret that they did that, which is why it's so important to try to intervene before this happens multiple times. Because now this kid over here, even, like, I feel like there was a few times that maybe something could have happened to intervene for her and it didn't. But I don't want to judge. Somebody said about judging. I'm not judging. You're right. I don't want to judge. I'm questioning, because it's not anybody in here that has kids. It really, even if your kids have run away, there was probably something going on. You don't just run away just to run away. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if things are going good in your mind, it doesn't even mean that it's real. Perception's reality, even when it's not real. So as long as the kid thinks that their life sucks, or like, I wish my mom was more cool like your mom, even if the perception's wrong, there's still something going on within the kid's head, because if they were content, there would be no reason for them to want to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know the situation with Celeste and her parents and her family dynamics. So I don't know if she had friends. I you know, that, no idea. I was just talking about the situation that was anecdotal to where I was dealing with somebody who came from what appeared to be a good home. Again, it was appearance. I didn't live there. I don't know them like like that. And so, you know, I knew him. I knew the brother, and he seemed like a solid guy. And so, you know, it was and he was the one that was fighting to go find her, and the one that was going places to try to find her and stuff. So, you know, now that I think about it, I don't think the father was there. I think the father had passed. Now that I think
that's what I mean. So again, there's people in the thing saying I'm criticizing, and this isn't about criticizing. I'm a research psychologist. I'm saying that according to statistics, there's probably something going on. And like you just said, if the dad died, that's like something traumatic in the child's life. So when I say trauma, I don't necessarily mean that the kid's getting beat up at home. It could be things that even with the best parents that you can't help. There could be somebody at school that bullies, like, it could be anything. So when people are saying that, I'm not judging or criticizing anyone. I'm if anything, caring for the victims, and that we need to make sure we're providing as many services as a community, so that if a kid is going through something, even if it's bullying or something, or a breakup, anything. So again, I'm not criticizing parents. I'm saying something to the child that the child sees as upsetting. And all kids go through upsetting things when they're 13. We all did. I know I did.
No, I agree. And, you know, at that age, and then you're looking up at somebody who is, like, for instance, with Celeste, and she's looking at somebody who has millions of followers, somebody who is famous. Her perception of who he is and the type of person that he is could be completely wrong. Now, kind of looking at his artwork, you know, he had a music video and a song that kind of got him rose into to stardom, called Romantic Homicide. Now, obviously that song was written, the video was made, I believe, before he ever met Celeste. But it's pretty interesting that in many of his videos, it revolves around homicide. What do you think, if he is the person who's responsible for Celeste's murder, which we don't know the answer to that yet, but if he is, given his choice of art, does that say something to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people are saying, because it was in 2022, that maybe it's not as pertinent, but I do think that it shows his thought process and his fantasy. And he has said there's discords that show him saying that he was into gore. Like, I think he even says it in a couple videos. So I think that's his like fantasy. But if you look at the words, he says things like, I killed you and I didn't care. And he says like, I don't know if we have the words to that, but the words are very telling in that even if it had nothing to do with her, like even if it had nothing to do with her specifically, it still shows at least what the things that he was thinking about. You have to think about this to write it down. People are so judgy today. They're talking about me judging. Everybody's being judgy. Come on.
Yeah, come on, everybody. Let's relax.
Seriously.
So yeah, I think he said something about I said it and I don't even regret it or something to that nature.
Yes. And then he says, I hate you. That's how he ends it.
Yeah. Do you think that? Do you think there was somebody in mind when he was writing that song?
Oh, absolutely. But again, I don't know that it was her. He could have been, I mean, it could have been anything. But if you think about it, like, and if you look at the clothes he wears, he went to his concert this year. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. Although it is from before, I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think his CD dropped until April of 2025. So even if that song was written in 2022, it was still relevant enough that he wanted it on the CD. And it's one of his best songs that he's ever written as far as popularity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's so taboo, you know, and I think a lot of kids are interested in that.
That is true.
You know, so do you think that this is who he is, or do you think that this could be like art not life imitating art, so to speak?
No, I think it was, and again, this is just my opinion from what I know as of today. It seems like this is who he was, and that he's creating art that reflects his thought process. And again, when I say who he is, I mean his fantasy, his thought process. He admittedly says that he watches gory porn or whatever that he watches. So my thing is like, just like with Koberger, watching people that are non-responsive, like just as much as that says something about him, this would say something. Like he said, I think he even goes as far as saying that he gets most excited or climax when he sees the gory parts of the porn that he watches. So that in itself is like concerning.
That is concerning. Close says, interesting part is most jurisdictions these days allow rap songs / videos in as evidence. That's good.
Do they? Wow.
I mean, if it's that's Celeste song.
That's Celeste song, yeah.
I don't know about the romantic homicide. I think that his defense attorney might have something to say about that song being written beforehand. But that Celeste song is probably one I would think that would have something there. So this goes on to say that the location, and this is where the body was found and where David was housed at. It's talking about where the vehicle was found was not far from the $20,000 a month home that David reportedly was renting with his manager. The home was searched by LAPD Robbery Homicide Division on September 17th. A computer and several bags of evidence were seized in that rental. The September 24th, movers were seen hauling boxes and other items from the home into a moving truck. Homeowners told TMZ he spoke with David's manager, Josh Marshall, last weekend and was informed they'd be breaking the lease and that their belongings would be moved out by the end of the week. Do you think it's weird that they're moving out?
Not at all. And I think that moving out, I think the homeowner probably wants them out just as much because now he has all this negative, there's probably people there. There's probably reporters there. So I think that the manager probably wants to disconnect from this as much as they want to disconnect from the manager. Apparently the homeowner didn't even know that David was staying in the house.
So let's just say that, let's put it this way. Let's say that David was out on tour, and let's play little devil's advocate. He's out on tour. Celeste is the one that's driving the Tesla, and Celeste gets attacked somewhere, and she ends up.
She didn't have a license. She was a baby.
It's a Tesla. Can it drive itself?
No.
You know, I'm assuming, given the amount of money he made, he probably has that feature. What if somebody put her in the thing and then put drive home? I don't know if it would drive like that. I don't have a Tesla, so I don't know if somebody has to be sitting in the car for it to do that. But do you think that if she had it and something happens and she ends up in the trunk of her own vehicle, I think that's probably going to be the defense's argument, at the end of this. Don't you think that his actions are a little weird if that was the case?
Yeah, either way I do. But I think this is another thing, Daniel. I think the trunk, like if you get a car that has that front trunk, and I don't own a Tesla, so I don't know, but I believe you have to have a special key or like code to open it. So my thing is, how do you get into the front trunk? Like right now, I don't understand why they're not.
No. I think somebody definitely put her in there.
Okay.
Yeah, what I was saying is, I don't know if somebody put her in there and then just hit the home button on the automatic driving and it drove itself there. I have no idea. Or somebody could have gotten in there and then hit home on the navigation and just dropped it off there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And I know that there's a ton of cameras on the vehicle, but I think you can like turn them off if you don't want them on. So everybody keeps saying that the vehicle is going to be able to tell if somebody went in and drove it home or if there was nobody in there. The problem is if the owner of the car turns that function off, then do they still have that same thing, I guess? But then again, most cars don't have 8 cameras around them. So hopefully they have cameras on like the streets and stuff too that they could use.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, if I was his defense attorney, that what I would say is she went out, she may have met the wrong person. That person, did what they did and then got in the vehicle. The navigation for that that apartment was already set in the navigation. It was saved because that's where they went. So the real killer went in there, hit home on the navigation, drove the vehicle there and left it there with Celeste in the front trunk. I mean, that's probably going to be his argument. You know what I mean? His defense at this point. But if that were the case, I feel like his behavior is weird. Don't you think he would have come out like with a statement, saying something, even though then again, that might implicate him in a
because then
with an underage person.
Exactly. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, if anything, a lawyer. And I'm sure that once you're that big, he had a world tour. I'm assuming there was a lawyer somewhere. So I'm sure somebody told him not to say anything at all. But you would think, right? But then again, if you're then going to be tied to this person in his sense, because I don't know, like, why do you think they haven't arrested him yet? Because even if they can't get him for that crime, couldn't they get him for like all the times that like they were together? Or do you need like evidence that they were like, it drives me nuts. Like, I feel like he's already done crimes that he could be arrested for. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
There's
think
someone in chat too, real quick, Daniel, that said that the front trunk doesn't need a key and that it's so small you could barely fit a suitcase, let alone a body. But that's where she was found though, right?
Yeah. And she was pretty small. I think they said she weighed like 70 something pounds.
Could that have been due to decomposition?
Probably so. But I mean, I think she was still fairly petite.
Mm-hmm.
I think they said that she was, I mean, this sounds gross, but you probably can fit her better if she's not intact, right?
And I don't think she was.
It sounded like that wasn't the case. Yeah. And so that's probably why she was able to fit there. Now he was on tour. He was on tour. I think he had shows lined up, and then I think he even did a show after the body was found, and then after that one, he stopped. I mean, I just feel like even if he didn't want to make a public announcement, doing another show, not immediately canceling the shows, kind of say something, don't you think?
1,000%. And the clip that or the thing that I shared, that clip, it was like 33 seconds. It's at that show. Apparently after, that she dies and he's like crying, singing the song. And it's just so eerie because the audience is like, oh, because they're like, look, he's emotional. But now when you look back at it, you're like, oh my gosh, like, is he like, I don't know what's happening right there, but he's definitely crying like a lot, not like a tear during that song. So people should check that out.
What song was he singing?
Oh my gosh. It was, that was a good question. I could look it up.
And you sent it to me on text message. Is that the one you sent me?
Well, it's actually, I shared it. That's the one that I shared on my ex, and I shared it here. But I don't know. Let me see. Did I send that one to you? It is.
Let me see if I can pull up your. This sounds so weird. Let me pull up your ex. It sounds like
I know that is so weird. It does sound weird.
a former relationship person.
It is so funny.
It's not it at all, guys. Let's see. And you said you shared it on there, and it
said, yeah. So it's not the last one, but the one right before. It says 23 hours ago, David cries on stage after Celeste's death.
And what is your handle on X?
It's at
I found it.
Vona_DR.
And you're following me. I'm not following you back now. All right.
Thanks.
Let's see. Let's pull this up. I'm gonna play it. Hopefully it doesn't freeze. All right. You know what? I'm gonna mute it because I don't want to get copywritten by myself for the music.
Okay, I hear you.
So here it is. This is him. Yeah, he does look very emotional.
This song is "I'll Love You from the Afterlife." I just put it on my phone and muted it so that I could hear it. The song is "I'll Love You from the Afterlife." That's what he's singing right there. "I'll love you from the afterlife."
Now, this was after they found her body, or was this before they found her body?
It was supposedly it was after her death, but it doesn't say whether it was before or after her body. It just says after her death.
Interesting. I would like to know the answer to that question. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll figure it out. Yeah. And he's literally, and then everybody does all, and he does like the heart, like love you, and then everybody loves you back. He's very, very good at like pulling people in. Like, it's a shame if he did do like it, well, regardless, he's with the girl, but it's a shame either way because he is very talented, and he could have been really big.
Yeah. Let's see. This is on stage in Houston while performing live. Possibly right after. So this says possibly right after the death. So this sounds like it was before the body was found.
Wow.
Because of the whole.
Imagine looking at this in like retrospect and being like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and he definitely is like really, is really crying. I just don't understand why they haven't charged him with anything yet. Like, forget the killing, like even the others, not forget it. I don't mean like that. I mean, don't they usually like arrest you for something less until they can up the charges?
Yeah, that's not uncommon. But the thing is, this guy's probably got a steep lawyer. You know what I mean? That's probably the thing that is really preventing this from being further investigated properly. I mean, not investigated properly. But this is probably why it's going in the manner that it is because he's probably got a high priced lawyer. That's the first thing. Second, schedules are tight, right? So like if this happened, like like in the Brian Koberger case, a lot of people were skeptical because of the timing in which how long it took for him to go up there and take the lives of 4 people, and they thought it was too quick. If he was going from one place to another and traveling, and they're having a hard time pinpointing the exact date in which she passed, and if it happened in between like concerts in different areas, that might be one of the reasons why it's preventing them. If they can't quite pinpoint the exact time of death, and he has, let's just say, he was in Los Angeles on the 2nd of September, but the 3rd he was somewhere else, and the 1st he was somewhere else, and he was there for just one day. Is it possible that that's the day that she died? It's possible. Is it possible that it was the third while he was somewhere else? And then, well, now you have a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. And somebody did mention too that the clock starts ticking once they arrest you. So I guess they have to like get an airtight case. But no, you're right. You're right. But I do think if you're looking at his schedule, it appears, if you look at his schedule, like he's on tour and like doesn't even have time to come back. You have to see his like tour dates, that they're no joke. But there's a video, excuse me, there's a video on his last tour date where he's wearing a pink shirt. It's like a pink polo. And then I think it's September 1st or 2nd. I'll find the video and send it to you after this, because this is going to be many lives, I think. I don't think this is something that we can cover in one night. But when I send you this, it seems like he went home, because I then looked on other old videos and it looks like he's in the house that he grew up in. So, or the one that's in LA rather. So my thing is, he does go home at some point. I mean, I guess you could say that he posted a video. You could post a video today and have taken it a month ago. So I guess you could say that too, but I want to send it to you to see what you think.
Yeah, I'll check it out. You know, one of the things though is if they're able to pull like some information also from the Tesla, and the Tesla was last moved and in correspondence with the date that he was there, that should be a lot. You know what I mean? That should kind of point in that direction. I find it weird that they haven't arrested
it already. Yeah, wouldn't they have already saw that?
I would hope so.
So like, what's the holdup? I'm just so confused. I guess you could say, okay, even if he drove the car, like I'm trying to think like what could the argument be? And I guess like you were saying, like you could say like, when did the bag? I don't know, unless who knows, he could have been covered head to toe. He did cancel his tour, everyone. Yes, he did cancel his tour, but not before performing another time or so.
Yeah, he had like one or two performances.
Yeah.
Club goes, did we mention how David said he reported the Tesla stolen in Seattle, but law enforcement say it was never stolen? So did he actually say that it was stolen?
From what I heard, I think he did say that, but I think the police said that there's no record of it.
Interesting. And so like, and in Seattle too, I mean, it just so happens that the killers live down the street from where your house is in Los Angeles, of all places in the world.
And I think he was in like San Diego or like Sacramento or something at the time when he said it happened, or unless Chloe just said it, but he wasn't there and he reports that. But my thing is, if he would have made a report to the police, they could have just looked. And my other thing is, can't you see on your phone where the car is?
You supposedly can, yeah. I mean, it's super tech. And like I said, this isn't like the guy that's buying the base Model 3. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the base model. I'm here talking smack.
You might be, Daniel, because I think I have it. And I think it is, I wrote it down. I believe he has, I don't know. I'll find it in a second. I know I wrote it down. Oh, wait, I have it right here. He has the Tesla interior. Hang on. I just had it. I'll find it. I'm sure somebody in chat knows too.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know if it's what
oh, wait, I have written down here Tesla Model Y 2023.
Well, maybe that it should have still quite a bit of the tech and stuff. It's a little bit older.
This is why I also think that that's it too, because I have a video of him in the Tesla and I didn't know if it was the Tesla. So I put it into AI to ask it what type of car it was. And it came back with that. And then I heard that on a news report. So I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And the Model Y is not, I think that's a higher end one. I'm not familiar. I know the Model 3, isn't there a 3? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is the Y. I'm over here throwing out. I don't know anything about the Tesla stuff. My brother drives one. He's driven two.
That's awesome. They look really cool.
They look nice. They look nice. My brother and my sister-in-law tells me there's this 1 foot action where you don't have to hit the brake. It sounds crazy to me. I've never driven it. So I mean, I don't know.
My car, like, you mean like stops for you?
I guess when you release
mine does that. Fast. My car stops for you, and it's scary because if you get even too close to a car, it's like it brakes for you, and it's like scary if you're not used to it.
Well, this like apparently like immediate. I don't know. You don't ever have to use the brake.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. I I trust the old school.
So I know I would be so afraid. I would be the person that's still like pressing the things when you're not supposed to.
100%. Stephanie comes in saying, sending love to all. I'll catch the replay. Thanks, DT and Dr. Vona and the DT and MF. Thank you so much. Going back to this document here real quick, it says here that there was a subreddit locked after Reddit's accused him of moderating, and it goes on to say that that after somebody who claimed they moderated David's Discord server Twitch channel posted a message saying they did not know about Rivas Hernandez. In the message, the mod says they were not aware of the true age and that she was a missing person. Based on what was shared on David's Twitch streams from Rivas Hernandez's role in the Discord server, they believe she was around 18 or 19 years old. It's unclear which moderator it was, but Twitch told TMZ the mod is not employed by the company and the statement was not made on behalf of Twitch. It says here, police said David is cooperating with the investigation and he is not a suspect or a person of interest at this time. What do you think about that statement?
Don't they always say that though? Like, I feel like they always say that so that they don't spook the suspect.
That's true, especially if they're talking. You want them to keep them talking.
Yeah.
But,
so you don't want them to think that he's a suspect. And my thing is, criminals, I'm coming to realize, are not always, like, they don't always think of things. Like, you would think that he would think not to put that, if it was him, in the front of his car. So my thing is, if he didn't even think about that, then of course they're going to want to remain as if they're not looking at him so that he will talk if that's what, that he might talk, even if the lawyer tells him not to, but I don't know.
But to me, I think this is a short-term tactic. This is a tactic that you would use in the short term while you're having certain conversation and things of that nature. Because, the longer this goes on and if they maintain this and they continue to come out saying he's not a suspect or a person of interest, then you got to kind of have to look at it and, all right, what is it that they have that's pointing to somebody else? Now, he could still 100% be a dirtbag because of what he did, because of the age and stuff like that. But this is a short-term tactic because you're giving people around him a false sense of security, which could be dangerous if this guy committed a crime of murder or homicide.
Yes, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So this is a short-term tactic. So if this maintains that he's not a suspect or a person of interest, I want to say after about another month, I would give it tops. And they still don't have an arrest, I think we might start having to look at it from a perspective of what do they have that is pointing somewhere else.
That is so scary if it doesn't get solved because of the decomposition and stuff.
I mean, she's young. She's been running away. She's going out with her friends. Is it plausible that if he's out somewhere that she goes somewhere and gets herself into trouble, given her age and
no, I don't think so. But I'm sure that's what they're going to say.
That's true. Now, I strongly suspect David at this point.
Me too.
That's just a suspicion. That's just I'm not saying that he did it. Obviously, law enforcement have said right now he's not a suspect or a person of interest at this time. It's very early in the investigation. I'd be interested to see how much more cooperation he does. I'm interested in knowing what kind of cooperation he's done. Has he turned over his phone? Has he allowed them to download his phone? Is he willing to come in for a lie detector test? Is he going to be willing to turn over his bank statements and records so he can show a pattern with his phone of where he's at, utilizing GPS location and purchase history? There's a lot of things that can be found and done when you're investigating a crime in today's age, especially with youngsters who use their phone like crazy. And
I forgot one thing that I meant to ask you. Do you think she could have been pregnant? And maybe that was it.
It could.
Because I heard that on the Discord server, which I did get into, so I'll have to share that with you. But I'm like reading messages now, but apparently he says something like me and deleted user. So the person's a deleted user, but if you go under deleted user and you start clicking through, the picture of the hand with the David and stuff is on there. So it's like, it has to be her. hers. I mean, I don't know that to be sure, but when you look at it, like that's the most plausible thing. So I'll have to send you that to see what you think about that, because if he tells people that they're having a baby and then like what happened from that.
That would be interesting. That would be a interesting step in if they were having a baby and
yes, Afton's right. I thought the pregnancy was announced a year ago. That's what I thought. I was like, shouldn't she have already given birth? This is the thing, you guys. I don't know if people know this, but the most dangerous time in a female's life in the United States is during pregnancy. Pregnancy homicide is the #1 cause of death for women in the United States when pregnant. And a lot of people don't realize that.
I think you have a ghost behind you. Oh no, it's a dog.
Oh, it's my husband. Sorry. He's like, sorry.
I see some dark movement going on in the background.
Sorry about that.
I was like, there's a shadow figure behind you. So Close saying there's a big rumor theory. If the report comes back inconclusive, could this be an OD situation? Do you think that maybe perhaps she got herself in trouble and somebody panicked, given her age and stuff?
See, my thing is the whole thing of like, if somebody did dismember her, like if those things are true, why do all of that if somebody ODs?
Well, here's the thing though. There's been like some misinformation about that whole dismember stuff. Like, for instance, Ashley Banfield came out first and foremost saying that it was a torso and head. And then
and a hand because they saw the
well, then they also said they found leggings and they found this and they found that. And so it seems like a lot of things are being taken back.
It might have been. What I'm thinking is, if you go back and you listen to what the cops said, I don't think that they said dismembered. I think they said that the body wasn't intact. That could be from decomposition too, right?
Yes. And it said that I have a couple of different places where it said both, like almost in the same article. It's so confusing.
It is confusing. We have to stay on top of it though, for sure.
You know, I don't know how true this article is, but I wanted to bring it up real quick.
Yeah.
This is the Economic Times News. I've never even heard of this place.
Okay.
Have you?
No.
It says here, it says David's mother spotted at Texas gun shop as teen Rivas murder probe intensifies. Mother of the singer David, Colleen Roberts Burke, was recently seen at a Tomball pawn and jewelry store near Houston. This marks her first public appearance since authorities found the dismembered remains of 13-year-old. Well, I don't think she was 13 anymore, but 13-year-old Celeste Rivas in her son's abandoned Tesla in Los Angeles. It says images obtained by Daily Mail show Burke, 49. I haven't seen these images. I was looking for them and I couldn't find them. Holding an AR-15 instruction manual. She wore a black tracksuit bottoms and a gray T-shirt with the words "Send nudes." I don't know if this is real.
But I will say this though, his mom. So his family dynamics. He has mom, dad, and then he has a brother and a sister. I will say this: when I was looking at some of his TikToks, I don't know if anybody else gets this, but I almost feel like he's a little bit jealous of his little sister. I think she has like a bigger room. She has her own closet. And he even says in the one thing, he's like, he does a whole video on it where he like asked her if he could use her closet to do the video. I wonder what the family dynamics were there. And there was a lot of things where like, he says it in front of his mom in the one interview. He says, he asked his mom if she likes his like content. And if she says no, or if she's like mortified by it, that's when he knows it's good.
Yeah, I saw that. I did see that.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, rebellion and going against what parents say has been a thing for as long as probably history.
That is true.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
That is true.
What do you think about the fact that, how do you think being homeschooled may play a role here, not being around other kids and things like that?
So I think that could be different for everyone. However, in his case, he talks about it on in his social media. Like all of his social media is still up there if people want to look. So if you look at like his Instagram and all those videos, he like talks about it, and he talks about how like he does one video where he's like, I was homeschooled, so I never went to any dances. And so I don't know, for the general population, I couldn't say, but it does seem like it had somewhat of an effect in that enough that he brings it up in more than one video.
That's true.
Like in a negative way.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. So yeah, I'm kind of going through this one real quick. And Afton brought up an interesting point. She said that the APD rep said that she was dismembered. The ME would not confirm when they were directly asked. May not be clear if she's not intact. Question why? Obviously, I think it might be because of the decomp. But that would kind of say that she was in there but then again, it's Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure it's warm down there in September. I've never been to Los Angeles, but I'm fairly positive it's warm in September. What do you think?
I have been once or twice, and it is. So I think it was warm. I think they did say that it probably sped up decomposition, but I'm not, I don't know, my decomposition well enough to really say how it would have affected it. I don't know if it could happen that fast. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because right here it says that on September 17th.
It says it's hot as hell in September.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And pineapple. Okay.
The day her body was discovered, however, officials noted her body appeared to have been in the car for an extended period of time before it was found severely decomposed. Let's see.
Afton says they can skeletize in as little as 5 to 9 days in similar circumstances.
Jeez.
It was the hottest this year at this time, says Sunpine, and I'm in LA. She's in LA.
Oh, geez.
And Solomon agrees.
Is it humid too? I would assume it is. It's pretty close to the water.
Oh wow, 90 to 100. That's hot.
Yeah, and if it's humid, that's even worse. It's one thing to be like to have hot and it'd be like humid and dry heat. Two different things.
We have a lot of people.
Oh, it's not humid. It's not humid. It's just warm. Interesting. Well, if you're from Los Angeles, hit the like button, subscribe. Little plug. Also on the true crime, the Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona. So obviously, this is going to be something like we said that we're going to be having to dig in more and more. If you had to make a prediction, how long do you think? Well, let's put it this way. How long do you think it'll take before we should start getting worried if there's not an arrest?
So I would say, like I usually do, the psychological questions, I'm usually the one that's good at them. This is probably a question that I would ask you, being the former cop. What do you think?
I think I would already start getting nervous, to be honest with you. If you don't have enough to arrest him. Given everything. Given the fact that the vehicle that she was found in was a Tesla with the technology that comes behind it, given the fact that this was a young man, if this was a crime against her, it was probably a crime of passion. It was probably something that was not necessarily premeditated, maybe something that happened in the moment. And so when you have youngsters, something in the moment, crime in the moment type of thing, with it not being premeditated, there's the lack of planning, and your phone is going to register certain things, where you're at, your location, GPS. If they were arguing beforehand, if there was text messages that went back and forth, locations during certain times of where he was at. So to me, the fact that they haven't arrested him is indicative of a couple of different things. One, there's something there's an obstacle, whether it be trying to land the specific date of the time of when Celeste passed, and trying to correlate it with the time that he was there. He's got money, so he's probably got a pretty decent lawyer. And I think the other thing that you have to factor in is, I think those are the only, those are few, there's probably a few more things that I'm just not coming up with at the top of my head right now, but I'm a little bit concerned that it hasn't happened already. Even if it was for the underage stuff.
That's what I'm thinking, even if not for that, because when I did digging, there are, like in his Discord, there's a Discord where he's like, he goes live with her and he says to the mods, he's like, you guys, you have to delete this afterwards. And at one point she points out a comment that someone says like, so there's video of them together doing a live in the same room. So not like this, where you're in one state and I'm in another. They're like on the couch together. So like, even just for that, like harboring a kid that's, even if he said that it wasn't a sexual thing, like even having a kid that you know is 13 and should be at school. Yeah. And then I'm thinking too, he's at some point 17, 18, 19, and now 20. What role did his family as far as seeing her or not seeing her? Because if she was with him all the time, how did they not see her too? I'm just confused. I don't know. I mean, I have to do more digging.
I have to ask, how would they be able to prove stat R? It's not so much that. I mean, there's harboring a runaway. That would be probably the easiest.
That's what I was looking for, harboring a runaway.
Yeah, that one would probably be the easiest one. Enticing a child, enticing a minor. You have a few other things that, inappropriate contact. If there's anything that you can find where they were together. Some people are saying here that they were romantically involved. So you have inappropriate contact with a minor. Now, these are all Texas state laws. I'm assuming that California has similar ones. But then again, I don't know. I mean, California is a little bit lax on some of their laws.
I think everywhere in the United States, you can't consent to sex under 15. And I would assume anywhere in the United States, if somebody's reported missing and they're in middle school and you're having them.
Didn't like, California recently come up with something that if you're within 10 years of age, that it's okay?
Someone just said California has harboring a runaway too.
Right. The harboring a runaway, but like the child aspect. I remember there was this thing a few years back where California was wanting to make like it's a defense to prosecution in the state of Texas if you're like 18 and the legal age in Texas is 17. And so if like somebody's 16, as long as the person's not like over 3 years older than them.
3 years. Yep.
That's the defense to prosecution or defense adjudication, whatever you want to call it. But that's here in Texas. I thought in California it was like 10 years, and it was like super controversial. I remember this being something controversial because I was like, well, you can be like 14 and 24. That sounds weird. You know what I mean?
Crazy. Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then that's even more concerning and might be the reason that he hasn't gotten arrested.
Yeah, I think there might be. I'm not sure. I'm going to look it up.
Oh, we need to look that up. I feel like that's crazy if that's the case. Gavin Newsom signed something in 2020, but that was judge discretion.
Yeah, it's judge's discretion.
What? I'm speechless. Wow.
Yeah, I remember there being something like that, like back in the day, because it was a big old thing. You know what I mean? And so,
Travis,
so he falls with. I mean, it's a judge's discretion, and it's the same thing in the state of Texas. I knew a guy who was having to report, and I think he was like 18. I think his girlfriend was like 16 at the time, and mom was aware. Mom used to buy them protection and all this other stuff, and he lived with mom and daughter. And then when they broke up, mom and daughter went and filed a case against them. And he ended up having to, 16 and 18, he ended up having to register and stuff and got found guilty. I think he spent like 2 years in prison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
and he probably had to register too as an SA forever.
Yeah, exactly. He had to register. And that's how like he would come in when we were working, obviously, to register and stuff. And I knew the guy from like school, and I got to talk to him one time. I was like, hey, I saw him. I was like, what are you doing here, man? And then he was like, oh, I have to register, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, yeah, man, it was an effed up situation, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of told me what had happened. And I took his word for it. I mean, he could completely been lying, but he was like, yeah, I was like 18, she was 16, and we'd been together, and they still screwed me over. there's that rule where it's 3 years, but they were pushing it, and I was like, yeah, well, you were still 18, bro. You still knew the difference. You know what I mean? To me, it didn't make a difference. It was you're 18, you're 16. I don't care.
16 to 18, I think that's like, I don't know, because I feel like there's a lot of people but the 3-year thing, definitely.
Yeah, and so
16 to 18, that's a shame if he has all these repercussions from that.
That's true. It is true. But in this scenario here, it's a little bit different. But yeah,
A lot of it different, yeah.
Yeah, 10 years. And like I said, I don't know.
And she was like 12 when they first started talking. They said that there's reports up to 11 when she started following him on Fortnite. But I mean, you have to know that it's not okay to talk to a 12-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Travis comes in saying, penal
I love
code
having Travis here.
to have with someone under 18, even if you're close in age to a minor. There you go. Is that for California? Unless things change, you know, I haven't been
Travis, I thought it was
officer
15. I thought it was 15
in California.
Oh, I thought it was like 15 everywhere. I got you. He's talking in California. I take that back.
It's 15 in places.
For the age of consent, you can't consent before the age of 15.
No, I know, but there's places that you can at 15. Oh my God.
I don't know. I just know that when we teach it, you can. Although that might also be cognitively like, no, I think legally too, you can't consent before the age of 15.
I thought,
but
in most places,
California has laws that I didn't know about.
I was going to say, in most places, consent is 18. I know in Texas, at least in the early 2000s, I was in law enforcement. I'm kind of giving my age here. It was 17 back then. I haven't stayed in, you know, I haven't looked up this law in a long time.
California laws. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I need to look them up.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I believe in California, the age of consent is 18 years old. So
wait, the age of consent's 18 years old, but you can have a 10-year age difference.
It's a defense, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
some laws are laws, some weird laws sometimes.
Oh my God. Oh my God. In Brazil, one can consent at 14. Wow. So, Belinda, you wouldn't have been in trouble because the 3 years, like you would have fell within the 3 years. So that wouldn't have been seen as abnormal as 16 and 19.
Right. Yeah. Here in Texas, you probably, like, if somebody made a big stink about it, like a parent, then it probably would go somewhere. And then if you got a prosecutor who was, you know, gun ho, so to speak, then you actually could find yourself or your husband into, he could have found himself into some trouble there if there was like sexual intercourse at that time. You know, if you guys were just dating and you met when you were 16 and 19 and y'all dated, that's not illegal.
Isn't it crazy though that like then you turn 18 and it's okay, you could date a 70-year-old?
Yeah.
So although I think it worked here, I think it falls within that 3 years, and that would have been okay for in chat. But over here, he was like 17 and she was 12.
Yeah.
Oh, Travis said no. That's bull. California has no 10-year rule. Thank God.
Interesting. I could have sworn there was something like that.
Travis, let us know. Yeah, that's a bit much. Travis says, somebody asked about penal code 261.5, and Travis wrote back and said that defined under that you have consensual sexual intercourse with someone under 18, even when you are close in age or a minor yourself.
So this is what AI says.
Yeah, tell us.
Take it for what it is. AI is not always perfect. California, the legal age of consent is 18. There is no 10-year rule that makes sex with a minor illegal. The 10-year rule is not an exception to the age consent, but rather a factor that courts may consider in specific cases involving non-vaginal sex, primarily impacting sex offender registration requirements. I remember this, that a lot of people were saying something that had to do with like, I guess male and male sex, because it was not having to deal with the vagina. 10-year gap rule explained what it is. The rule applies to convictions for oral and anal sex with a minor who is 14 or older. If the offender is more than 10 years older than the minor, the judge can use their discretion on whether to require the offender to register as a sex offender. So this is only for the registration, so that you could still be charged. What is not, the rule does not make sex with a minor illegal. Adults can still face statutory rape charges and other criminal penalties, including potential jail time, even if the minor consented. The law amended in 2020 by Senate Bill 145 expanded discretion that previously only applied to cases involving vaginal intercourse to also include non-vaginal sexual acts. So that's what I thought. So before it was just solely for vaginal intercourse, and then they added it back in 2020 so that they can use the discretion for LGBTQ plus.
Wow.
So that was the rule. I was like, I could have sworn there was something like about that. And so
it's not a law, but the judge can use it like to their discretion.
The judge can use it to their discretion if they want to require them to register as a sex offender.
Wow. This was a really good discussion, you guys.
Yeah. It's weird still, but yeah, the age there is 18. And so they should charge him. At the very least, the discretion of the courts comes after the charging. You can't get to the discretion of the judge until he's been charged and convicted. That's where that discretion is. So why hasn't he been charged is my question, for at least some of the things.
Question. Do we know where he is even?
I don't. I wonder if
apparently
law enforcement
does. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't mean you. I meant do you think law enforcement knows where he is?
According to the documents that the news reports, is that he's cooperating. So I'm assuming he's giving them their location, but that's
he's cooperating by giving them his lawyer's name.
Probably. That's the tricky thing, right? I mean, if it wasn't so much that this guy was probably very wealthy and had some lawyers that can prevent things from happening, maybe even prevent things from happening publicly for a certain amount of time. Like, you can only withhold that information so long that if he's gotten arrested, you know what I mean? It's eventually going to come out. But it's weird. It's interesting that to me that it tells me there's something, there's a hookup. There's something that they're trying to figure out.
I can't wait to see how long it takes because I feel like they have enough here to get him for something. And Travis, we know that you would never give us bad law. Travis said he would never tell us the law, mislead us. And I know how he feels too, because as somebody with my degrees as a psychologist, I would never want someone to think that I was misleading them. So Travis, I have to tell you guys, Daniel and I have the smartest subs on YouTube, hands down. I say it all the time. We really do.
I agree. We have the most informed, the educated, and
most informed. Yes.
Yes, and
even the ones that don't have a formal education are just brilliant. We have such great subs.
I agree. Well, we're going to be continuing to cover this case as it continues to unfold. I reckon that there's probably going to be some more information coming out in the near future on this case. So please like, comment, and subscribe on both channels. If you're watching this on the Drunk Turkey Show, as soon as this is over, immediately head over to the Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona and sub up there. And if you're watching this on her channel, if you don't mind, coming to DT Show or the Drunk Turkey Show and subbing up here. We've talked about a lot of different cases as well. So Dr. Vona, what do you got going on next? I know we got to talk about Kohberger here in the near future.
And we have to talk about Timmy.
That's true. We do have to talk about
Timmy.
So
what I'm doing next is I'm going to start looking into some of the Timmy stuff so that I can give a better, well-informed opinion. I also think that it's important that we work to tell people. We were talking about even maybe presenting it to the Cold Case Foundation to see if they can help in any way. So I think people should look out for that. But we definitely also have to talk about Kohberger because there's new things that have dropped there too.
Yeah, there's a lot of video, and I want to get your opinion on his dress, his appearance, and what he was doing or thinking during these times.
Kicked out of Costco and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away anything, but his pocket is his back pocket is out. His shirt is untucked on one side.
He hides his hand in his pocket, the one that has the Band-Aid on it real quick when they start talking to him.
Yeah, exactly. So much stuff that we're going to be breaking down, guys. So please like, comment, and subscribe. we'll probably be doing that in the near future. So keep an eye out. Also, if you guys are following the Jack and Lily Sullivan disappearance out of Nova Scotia, I'm actually going to be interviewing Daniel Martel, the stepfather of the two kids, probably this weekend, and it'll probably air out sometime early next week. So keep your eyes out for that. If you are watching this and you've only seen a little bit about my Brian Koberger conversations, I have done a lot of extensive interview and footage or coverage in that case, including interviewing both Christy Gonsalves very early on in the case, and then Steve Gonsalves more recently. So go check out those interviews.
You've been on that since the beginning.
Yes. And it's I'm glad it's come to a close. I know we're getting a few things, the last bit of stuff that is coming out. And so to me, it just kind of seems like it's beating almost a dead horse at this point. The guy's pled guilty. He's his time to appeal has passed, and so he's accepted.
You know what I think it is? I think it's the fact that they were so hush-hush in the case that now that we are getting evidence, I think people want to see it because it's like it just either validates something that they were already thinking or helps them, fill in the blanks. And I think a big part of that was because of the secrecy that was surrounding it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I want to get with you is like, should this stuff remain secret? Is the stuff that we're about to see of him walking around in Costco, for instance, is that something that would have swayed someone one way or the other? Yeah. It didn't look like he was wearing gloves to me. Mm-mm. He did hide his hand though. So we'll talk more about it maybe this weekend.
Yes.
You guys have a great night. Thank you guys.
Thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate it. And thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you.
Yes. Oh, even more was dropped while I was live. So there we go. We'll go through all of it probably this weekend sometime. You guys have a safe night. Until next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Go Steelers. Later.
Go Eagles.